Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Wednesday, the 17th of September, 2025. That makes this the news and events for Tuesday, September 16th, day 1301 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you live from this major European capital. How's everybody doing tonight? There's Raven and Nicola. Hey, Mike Kelly. Hey, Scully. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Avi. Nicola. Hey, Maggie May, super user. Hey, G2. How you doing, Carl? Richard Prexis is here. Seawolf. Hey, Alan. Bjorn. Hetty Yankee. Hey, Ted Greenow. Oh, shoot, I forgot to look that up before I got started. How's everybody doing tonight? Trump's in town. Well, do give him a righteous welcome for us, Anthony. I saw Prince Charles getting ready for the visit. That was absolutely perfect. Ian, how you doing? I'm plugging along. Hey, Nightingale, or Nightshade. Nightingale, that's weird. SETI 2. Hey, Judy. How you doing tonight? Hey, Seawolf. Hey, Marius. It's a great name, Marius, by the way. I'm just looking here. Who is our sponsor tonight? Let's see. Last night it was Christian, right? Who I don't think I've ever seen live, by the way. And tonight it is Derek Sands. If we see Derek Sands around tonight, please give him our gratitude. You're no Florence Nightingale, that's for sure. Tomorrow it's Paul, and then Nutmegger on Thursday, Seawolf. And then I don't have a sponsor for Friday, so if anybody, there's Derek Sands. He's our sponsor for tonight's live. Guys, the Sofia trip is coming up, right? I leave for Sofia. I fly to Sofia on Tuesday. I am a little bit nervous about the money, frankly. So if anybody can help out with that, please. I could use sponsors for next week's live from Sofia and this Friday. Hey, Ben Tilley. Hey, Rob Walker. Disco Sounds from Scotland. Hey, Bernard. Hey, Alice. Alice joined the Patreon. I got to tell you guys, Alice joined the Patreon. And there's a lot of videos on the Patreon that are not published anywhere else. And Alice has just been working her way through the whole archive. It's really been amazing to watch, I'll tell you. Oh, I hope Trump goes out and glad hands the public all over the UK. I hope he gets right out there with the people, boy. Wouldn't that make for some great TV? Wouldn't that make for... And he loves ratings. He loves good TV and ratings, that's for sure. Hey, Roy Daniels. Hey, Jackie. Kath Brown. Hey, Feisty. Thank you, Alice. I really appreciate it. It shows, Alice. Your dedication is extraordinary. And I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Thanks. Warms the cockles of my heart. You've been watching the security for Trump in Windsor. Well, gosh, Ben, if you can watch him, that's not great security, is it? Maybe they don't want the security to be that good. Listen, we'd all be very grateful if he never came home. Let's just put it that way. And keeping him away from the protest. That's too bad. He will never learn. Good evening, Maria. Am I sick? I am not in great shape tonight, to be perfectly honest. What is that? Stepashankin? Rus. No, goose. Hurs. So yeah, no, I am a little bit under the weather today. There's no two ways about it. Occupied Melitopol is out of gas again today. They are not the only ones, right? We're seeing gas shortages. Hey, Howgley. We're seeing gas shortages. Fuck them, Dirk. Fuck them in the ear. I'm so tired of playing nice. Give me a fucking break, these people. So in the last 45 days, it is worth pointing out that in the last 45 days, we have seen 19 strikes against 14 separate oil refineries all across Western Russia, resulting in what we believe to be somewhere between a 27 and 29% decrease in refining capacity. Now, before everybody gets all excited, hey, bro dog, before everybody gets all excited and starts thinking that this is the end of Russia, we want to be clear about this. These strikes are made with low payload drones. They cannot do that much damage. And most estimates of repair times for all 14 refineries are about another 10 days. About another 10 days. Most estimates from within the open source intelligence community and the oil industry suggest that Russia will be back to near 100% refining capacity in about 10 days. So the Ukrainians have another 10 days to either strike these refineries again and cause additional damage to extend that repair time, or they need to be prepared to launch higher payload weapons against these targets. Now, that's what I'm thinking, Raven, right? Not so much these intermediate range ballistic missiles, which we've heard about but have not seen in combat. More likely, I think, the Flamingo, the Peklo, the Polenitsa, those classes of hybrid missile, hybrid drone, longer range, jet-powered weapons. Now, the Flamingo, of course, is the king of them all, with a payload capacity of 1,050 kilograms of TNT equivalent. Now, you think the biggest drone, right, one of those 822s, they're a modified airplane, light aircraft frame with autopilot and explosives on board. And that's the one that hit the Bashneft refinery yesterday, right, the 822 drone. They only carry 250 kilograms of explosives. That's 1/4 the explosive of a Flamingo warhead. Hitting these same targets using the drone telemetry with the Flamingo missiles will have vastly more serious consequences for Russian oil refineries and targets all across Russia. Let's be clear. The western edge of Russia is a juicy, target-rich environment. Russia's great advantage is its size. And Ukraine is finding the holes in that warfare, or in the Swiss cheese holes in that giant, and sending its weapons through those holes. Yeah, Ukraine doesn't have a bio-warfare program because Ukraine doesn't indulge in war crimes like the enemy does. Let's be clear. David Kwasny says their size is also a great disadvantage. And David, of course, what we're seeing from the Ukrainians is the Ukrainian ability to turn the advantage of the enemy into an advantage for itself. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Hey, Otan Bot. So, on the economic front, the lifeblood of Russian oil is at risk. And it is my fondest hope that what we see over these next 10 days, what's happening right now in the background, is that the Ukrainians are scrambling to put together as many flamingos, as many other long-range missiles as they possibly can, so that as soon as those refineries are repaired, those missiles will pepper Western Russia and reduce that refining capacity again. It's working. Inside of Russia, we are seeing one after another video on Russian Telegram channels of people who have made the mistake of buying black market gasoline, and now their cars don't start anymore. We see people standing in line until their cars run out of gas and then having to push the car into the gas station. One guy today in Crimea shared online his text messages with local gas stations saying, "Are you sure you have gas? Because I don't have enough gas to get to 2 gas stations." The gas wars, Mike Kelly, right? One of the big differences between the United States and Russia, hey, Flip, between the United States and Russia, one of the great differences is that Russia was always an oil-producing giant. America was not. We came up through the 70s with the gasoline shortages, the high prices in the 80s, the recession of the early 90s. And what we always had, so that OPEC couldn't grab us by the nuts too bad, was a strategic oil reserve, right? Millions of barrels of oil just sitting around waiting to go should we need it. Russia doesn't have anything like that. Russia doesn't even have, not only do they not have a strategic reserve, they don't have storage capacity. They live in a just-in-time economy where their storage is in the ground. And anytime they need anything, they pull it out of the ground. And so they're living in a just-in-time delivery economy that requires 3.8 million barrels of oil a day be refined to keep the economy running. Right? Scully's saying in Australia, they've got a reserve that would last them 2 months if there were problems with supply in the world. And then, of course, if it was a serious supply issue, Scully, you could ration the gas and make it last 3 months. $2.79 a gallon in Missouri. Well, Mike Kelly, here's the good news. You're paying less for gasoline than the people in a country that's not really a country. It's just a gas station with nukes. And they're paying more for gas than you. And that's only in a per dollar level, right? The average right now in Russia is somewhere between $3.40 a gallon and $3.78 a gallon, almost $4 a gallon, right? But here's the thing, Roy Daniels. You might be paying $3.14 a gallon in Illinois, but you make 10 times the average Russian salary. If the Russians were paying in dollars per gallon an equivalent percentage of their income as you are paying, they would be paying $13 a gallon. They'd be paying $13 a gallon. Hey, Jasmine Star, how you doing tonight? Steve-O says in the UK, it's about $8 per gallon. Yeah, the Americans never understand this. America always thinks it's getting ripped off when everybody in Europe and the rest of the world is paying more than we are. But we use more than all of you, right? That is the problem. You know, the average America is 4% of the world, and I forget what percentage of its energy we consume, like over 25%, something like that. So it's crazy. Yeah, they pay by the liter, but we can do math, and we know that there's 3.87 liters in a gallon. So it's easy to do the math, right? So there, Flip is saying he's paying euro 55 a liter in Belgium. And it's an easy thing to multiply that by 3.87 to figure out how much it is in the US. And Lars, you guys should be paying more, or paying less rather, because you're a producer, right? Norway produces. Feisty says we're paying almost $7 a gallon, $7 Canadian. Right, Feisty? Little Red, I'm not sure if that's a reference to me or gas prices. That's weird. That's a weird thing to say. Netherlands is expensive. Netherlands is expensive. Last time I was in the Netherlands, I was so excited to go to Burger King because one of the things we do not have in Ukraine is a Burger King. And I am an American, and I do love a flame grilled Whopper from Burger King. And hadn't had one in about 2 years. Went to the Burger King in Amsterdam. I got a Whopper, a chicken sandwich, and a bottle of water, 32 US. $32 US. Holy shit. U.S. general said that Europe's air defense is weak. I don't know who that was. Was it the Sakur? No, that couldn't have been. I did have bacon and cheese on my Whopper. Yes, it's true. I did not only have bacon and cheese, I also had extra pickles, which I think they charged me for. Yeah, Clive, life is a death sentence. You know, what are you going to do? What are my thoughts about Ukraine using the ATACMS to take out the Kerch Bridge? They're not going to do it. That's not a thing. And here's why. Because the U.S. is telling them they can't use ATACMS to hit Russia. And the Kerch Bridge is iffy. Is that Russia or is it temporarily occupied territory? So the Trump administration is again hobbling the Ukrainians in the use of weapons. You'll notice we haven't seen a Storm Shadow hit in a long time. We haven't seen an ATACMS hit in a long time. Not only do they not have these weapons, because they were never given many of them in the first place, they're now restricted in their use once again, thanks to the orange turd in the White House. So the question is, what could they use? And the obvious answer is the flamingos. But guys, I don't think anybody is going to hit the Kerch Bridge until Kherson has been returned to Ukraine. I really think that what the Ukrainians are doing is they are blinding air defense assets in Crimea, and they are preparing for some kind of a push in Kherson to cut the land bridge to Crimea. Now, once that happens, then the siege of Crimea begins in earnest. And what you will want is for the bridge to be open until as many people get out of Crimea as you can get out of Crimea. And I think that that's how we're going to see it play out. They won't take it. I don't think they will take it out entirely until the siege of Crimea, until the land bridge to Crimea is secured. Designology, I'm very concerned about what happened in Romania. And I think we all should be. Because on Friday, we watched the Sakor, whose name, the new guy, I can't remember his name, but the Supreme Allied Commander of Troops in Europe, an American general. We watched him stand side by side with the Secretary of NATO, Mark Rutte, and tell us that they had activated Operation Eastern Sentry. Operation Eastern Sentry is basically a no-fly zone all along the eastern flank of NATO, or as Dominic Nichols likes to call it, the front line, which does sharpen the focus and the meaning, I think. So all along the eastern flank of NATO, Sweden, Finland, Poland, the Baltics, Bulgaria, Hungary, Slovakia, right? All along there, all the way to Turkey. We're supposed to have air asset protection against these drone incursions into EU airspace, NATO airspace. And what did we see less than 24 hours later? We saw a Russian drone enter Romanian airspace, and for 50 minutes, nearly an hour, be escorted by Romanian F-16s until it turned around and flew back into Ukrainian airspace. Now, that is very disturbing. If that drone was identified as carrying a warhead, and the Romanians let it fly back into Ukraine to murder Ukrainians, there is not much joy in Mudville. That's for sure. So, the other possibility, of course, is that the Romanians identified the drone as being a Gabera decoy drone, the same kind of unarmed drone that was flown into Poland during the Polish incursion, which now the Poles are saying at least 24 drones entered Polish airspace last Friday. If they identified it as a neutral threat, then letting it come back into Ukraine airspace is no big deal. You save yourself a $400,000 missile, right? I get that. But if that's the case, they should be telling us. We should know that that drone that they allowed to come back into Ukrainian airspace was unarmed. Otherwise, what we've seen is the Russians successfully use Romanian airspace at a time when it is supposed to be secured under Operation Eastern Sentry as a maneuvering ground for Russian drones to attack Ukraine from the West, which they would not be able to do without entering Romanian airspace. So it's very disconcerting. Very, very disconcerting. Hey, Jason. Shalom. There were some guarantees. No, not that I'm aware of, Jason. I mean, it's possible, yes. They're now saying 19 or 24 drones instead of 19. So it's certainly possible that there were guarantees. But the Garon 2 is a jet-powered drone that travels at 900 kilometers an hour, close to the speed of sound. No, I'm sorry, 600 kilometers an hour. Sorry, 600 kilometers an hour. Travels at 600 kilometers an hour, 4 times the speed of a standard Shahed. The drone that entered Romania was certainly not one of them, because at the speed that a Garon 2 travels, it would have been out of Romania in 15 minutes, not an hour. So it couldn't have been that. Um, as I understand it, the Gaberas that were taken down in Poland were outfitted with extra fuel tanks so that they could make the flight all the way into Poland. Gosh, I don't know anything about air defense in Finland. I only just found out that the name of the country of Finland isn't even Finland. It's, to the locals, it's, what is it, Sumo? Soimo? Designology. I don't believe that NATO uses Starlink in the way that the Ukrainian military does, so no, I don't believe so. I don't know who this guy is, but now he's saying things that are deeply offensive to all the Welsh. So we're just going to shut him up for now. Esteban, how you doing? Hey, Bobby. Just call it East Sweden to wind them up. I had a dream that all of Karelia and St. Petersburg was Finnish again. Right, NATO has their own satellites. They don't need Starlink. Yeah, the outages, that's it, John. Jan Halverson has it down there. Sumi. This is what it kills me, right? Like, we think we know that's Finland. It's not Finland at all. Like calling Germany, Germany. Hey, Birdie B. Okay, now the designology, the outages are odd. And the outages almost always come at a time that Ukraine is on the offensive. The first 2 times that they happened, Ukraine was attacking Sevastopol. This last time, we see the Ukrainians now north of Pokrovsk, right? Everybody knows, if my nose was Pokrovsk City, it's been partially encircled like this for about a year, right? And the Russians just keep pushing to the north and pushing to the south, trying to encircle the city. Well, have you seen a map today? It looks like this now. A year's worth of gains, 40 kilometers deep, erased, along with every Russian in there. That's not the only place that's happening. That I mentioned before that the western flank of the Sumy incursion has collapsed. Now the Ukrainians are turning their attention to the eastern flank. They are currently in the process of bringing into a cauldron, right, of double envelopment or an encirclement of Russian troops. A significant portion of the western incursion is about to be pinched off and the cauldron cleaned. So Hamish to Breton Gordon, who is a regular contributor to Ukraine the Latest, the podcast. He's a chemical weapons, nuclear weapons expert, as well as an old tank commander from the days of the Challenger 1. Hamish to Breton Gordon is saying, in his mind, looking at the Russian army, that the Russian army has culminated. That is to say that the Russian army has gone as far as they can go, and they are no longer cohesive enough to continue their function or operations. And the way that the Ukrainian army is slicing and dicing the Russians around Pokrovsk and Sumy right now, not to mention what's going on in Tetkino, the way that the Ukrainian army is just slicing them up and taking land back would certainly seem to validate that perspective. Insurgents, I don't know what you mean, insurgents, designology. What does that mean? Have you seen all of the diseased Russian soldiers now have tuberculosis, hepatitis, big problems? Yeah, here's the thing. You know, when you ignore basic health requirements and hygiene, when you bring into your army a lot of prisoners, people who have been in jail, who have been drug addicts, needle users, the rates of hepatitis, other STDs, and HIV/AIDS are likely to skyrocket among your force. And we're seeing increasing reports of exactly that happening, that the rate of HIV among the Russian soldiery in Ukraine is something like 13 times the national average inside Russia. Now, I don't know what that is, right? I didn't even think we'd be talking about this tonight. But it's a problem. Look, you're supposed to go to Russia and die. The priest told you that. You're not supposed to live, right? So if you dare live, nobody's going to care about what problems you have. And that's very clear for the Russians. Nobody gives a shit about the Russian military. A fraction of Russian battalions that are turning around. We get spotty reports of that. Now, hang on, designology. You might not be confusing insurgents in the ranks of the Russian army with the fact that the International Legion of Belarusians who are fighting for Ukraine are involved in the fighting around Pokrovsk. So as I understand it, inside the International Legion in the Ukrainian armed forces, there is a division of people all from Belarus who want very much not only to defeat Russia, but to then turn and go and defeat Lukashenko and free the Belarusian people from the yoke of Moscow's oppression through their proxy, Uncle Luka. That Belarusian detachment is fighting tooth and nail in Pokrovsk to clean the cauldrons of all the Russians that are stuck in there. So that's the only thing that I can think of right now that you might be thinking of. I heard 400 North Korean soldiers and 12 tanks got wiped out. Well, I mean, that's interesting. That seems highly unlikely. Are you sure that wasn't an old report? Because as I understand it, the 4,000 to 6,000 North Koreans that are currently still in Kursk, we think, are not engaged in the fighting, but are engaged in engineering tasks at the rear of the line. The Russians can't use them in Ukraine. It'll be an escalation on the international scene. And I mean, certainly that could have happened in Tetkino, but I'm not aware of it. And they can't tell they are ill. They got no money. No, exactly. Okay, that was it, designology. Yeah. I think I saw that report. The headline was very misleading. What's the strategic point for Ukraine holding Tetkino? Oh, that's a big deal. It's a great question, too, by the way. Hi, Kyiv. I thought I might get to Kyiv this month, but it didn't happen. Tetkino. What's the strategic value? As I understand it, first of all, there's just the PR reality, which is extremely poor for Putin, that for, let's see, 1 year and nearly 60 days, October 6th, it'll be 1 year and 2 months, Ukrainian soldiers have been going to bed and waking up in control of Russian territory. That is a slap in the face to the Kremlin every morning that they have to look at that on the map. That's good news. There's the PR win of the displaced persons who can't return to their homes, despite the fact that the Russian government has assured everyone that Kursk has been recaptured. Hey, Van. So there's those political wins. But much more importantly, what it really does, as I understand it, is it pins 65,000 Russian troops in Kursk to defend the motherland. They can't be redeployed anywhere along the Ukrainian front where they are desperately needed because they got to stay there. They got to serve to protect Tetkino. And the Russians are losing Tetkino. The last I saw, the entire southern area of Kursk from Tetkino over to the Ukrainian border was all now gray zone or in the hands of the Ukrainians. That's a big deal, especially because it means that Ukraine has fire control over the roads that lead to Tetkino. And so as reserves come down to try to bolster the garrison there, they're being eliminated on the road, along with resupply trucks, convoys, and one general, right? Which has also thrown the Kursk defense into disarray because the second top commander of the northern forces was just eliminated in a drone attack on a convoy coming into Tetkino. How you doing, Van? Will Ukraine keep some Russian areas after the war? Nobody has any idea what's going to happen after the war, Matthew. I mean, I believe that Ukraine's victory is inevitable, but I don't know it. If the Russians were to turn around and nuke Kyiv tomorrow, I can't say who would win this war. Is the RDK the main unit in Tetkino? I don't know what the RDK is. What is that? Do you mean the Russian Volunteer Corps? As far as I know, they're not even in Tetkino, if that's who you mean. If you're talking about the Russian Volunteer Corps, they're not even in Tetkino, to the best of my knowledge. They're down around Pokrovsk, actually. They're participating in those cleanup operations along with the Azov, the National Guard Azov 12th, if I'm not mistaken, and the Belarusians. Does Ukraine have total control of the skies? Bro Dog, thank you. That was my last point about Tetkino I wanted to make. The final strategic point around Tetkino is that it's giving the Ukrainian Air Force the opportunity to exert air superiority. Increasingly, one of the failures of the Russian army through this entire conflict has been their inability to maintain air dominance. Nobody has air superiority in this war. And without air superiority, as I understand it, you can't do proper combined arms maneuvers on the ground. So gaining air superiority is a critical advantage to the side that gets it first. And as I understand it, Ukrainian MiGs and F-16s have just been pounding the shit out of Russian positions in that region. It's very much an air war around Tetkino. Air Force comes in, softens a position up, infantry goes in, cleans it out. Just like a modern Western army should be doing. And gaining that air superiority, the knowledge, the skills to exploit it is not an easy thing to do. Somebody gave you planes, okay, you got planes, but that doesn't mean you have a capability. And what we're seeing is the Ukrainian armed forces diligently develop that capability, both in the southern skies along the southern axis, Kherson, Zaporizhia, and along the northern axis, Tetkino, Sumy, Volchansk. And it does seem like the capability of air superiority is growing as they continue to take out air defense units along the eastern flank. I think we'll see more and more air support being directed at the front line in Donetsk. RDK, I think he probably meant the Russian Volunteer Corps. Yeah, there it is. And that's because of the way that it's written in Russian. So, yeah, to the best of my knowledge, the RDK or the RVK is down around Pokrovsk and on the Belgorod border. Okay, again, oh God, isn't that dreadful? Let me thank Lars, who's got the Discord server. Let me thank Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. Let me thank Derek Sands, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Derek, I owe you another live. So Friday, too. You'll be our sponsor Friday as well. Derek Sands, who is our sponsor tonight. Thank Derek for me, please, everybody. Thank Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. And big thanks to the moderator team, best moderators on the Tickety Talk. Thank you all so much. Hey, Travis. How you living, brother? So, ladies and gentlemen, the Sofia trip is coming up. If I can please make an appeal to anybody that can help me out with that, I would appreciate it. Thank you. And then questions. We have 12 minutes left. Questions, comments, points of observation. Oh, Mark, please don't mention the children. It's so upsetting. That's the worst war crime. To rip children from their parents, send them to another country, tell them they're no longer Ukrainian, they can't speak their language, they have to speak Russian because they're Russian now and their parents are dead and now you belong to us. The evil that it takes to say that. Night, Andre. Hey, Ted. Lol's video. I'm sorry. I am an American. I do talk fast. I promise you, if you listen to my videos and join the live, your English will get better. So many people have told me this, my friend. It's not me, right? I'm telling you what other people have told me. Hang in there. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Oh, Anthony, it makes me crazy. Right? It says an awful lot about how evil the Russian system is. Designology, there's nothing worse than the loss of a child. Nothing worse. I saw a headline about the Dutch making the solid fuel for the flamingos. No, you did not, Roy. You saw a headline about the Danes making the solid fuel booster rockets for the flamingos, as I understand it, are being produced in Denmark. And that may be one of the reasons why we're not seeing the flamingos fly. We may be waiting for those solid rocket fuel boosters to get here. Are you, Designology? That's great. Send me some links. I'll repost them. Or send me if you're subtitling my lives in Ukrainian. That is about the most awesome thing anybody has done for me yet, and I totally support that. Danes, Roy. Yep. Thanks, Designology. We got about 9 minutes left, guys. What else? Yeah, then Lol's video won't have to listen to my terrible English, right, Nightshade? Thanks, Lols. I don't understand why the auto translate features in TikTok are so unpredictable. I mean, for most of my videos, you should be able to just turn on closed captioning and get an auto translate. Now, the translations aren't always very good, but you can get the gist of it, right? Like with Robert Petruzio's stuff, I see all of his Italian in English, and generally speaking, I can follow it just fine. Does Ukraine have missiles for Patriot air defense and Iris-T? That's a great question. We think so, but we don't know how many. And with America not willing to pony any up, it's very disconcerting. We don't know when we're going to run out. I'm doing okay, Jax. How you living? We got 7 minutes. So again, let me thank Derek Sands, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Thank you, Derek. Thanks, Lars. Thanks, Nightshade. Thanks, moderators. Somebody noticed last night that my throat was that I sounded a little scratchy. And today I really couldn't do anything. I just slept all day. I really am a little bit under the weather. The weather is changing. We're moving into flu season. My buddy Chris and his girlfriend were here for dinner on Saturday. And Chris was complaining about being sick, and I think the son of a bitch got me sick. This water better than in Luhansk, where they don't have any water, or in Donetsk, where they really don't have any water. COVID is rampant there. Roy, I don't think I ever got over COVID. I've never been the same since COVID. Thanks, Anthony. Have a good night. Right, Jeff? The worst part is he invited himself to dinner. Right? I didn't even invite him to dinner. These fucking people. How many drones was last night? It's funny you say that because yeah, see, could be COVID, I guess. It's funny you say that about the drones because I was sure that I knew the answer, and I'm wrong. I was wrong. So it was 113 drones last night. 89 of them shot down for about an 80% interception rate. So good shooting by the boys. Once again, about 113. Night designology. It's about that time anyway. Oh, sorry. Good night, Clive. All right, so everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and other non-binary folks, they did Nightshade in the middle of the day. In the middle of the day. Night, Evil Panther. I don't know enough about the military and the Ukrainian military to say that there is a best unit. So I don't have any response to the question of who is the best unit in Ukraine. Oh yeah, the war is going the other way, Morgan. The war is definitely going the other way these days. And it's that pace, that tempo is likely to only accelerate. It's likely to only accelerate in Ukraine's favor. All right, thanks, Guard. Thanks, Feisty. All right, guys, yeah, I'm going to say goodnight, too. Good night, everybody. Please, if anybody can help out at all with the Sofia trip, I would appreciate it. I have the October rent put away, so the big bill when I get back is taken care of. But I have no spending money at all. Like there is no money for apples in Sofia. That's where I'm at right now. And that has me a little bit worried. So if anybody can help with that, I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great day. Talk to you soon.